All right, what's up, guys? In today's video, taking the M4A1, we're going to look at how to build the best class setup, because the biggest difference you guys will see out of what people are using is what is the best fifth attachment. So majority of players use the monolith suppressor. Commando foregrip gives you the best recoil pattern, obviously 60 round mag, and the M16 Grenadier barrel. The biggest difference you'll see in what players are choosing as their best fifth attachment, majority of players opt for the VLK, which obviously improves your recoil. I made a video covering the VLK, and it actually was one of the worst attachments to use on the M4. It lowers your ADS out of every single gun, the second most, and for giving you a very minimal increase in your recoil. The next attachment is the tac laser as the best fifth attachment. The M4 was actually the #1 gun to use it on. It gave you the best improvement in your ADS speed out of every gun in Modern Warfare, which was #1. It also improves your aiming stability, which helps the overall recoil of this gun. And the aim walking steadiness is one of the most important things, which I think helps your player tracking in Warzone, which is what I think is the best fifth attachment. If you are going for the low recoil class setup, even the rubberized is still an excellent option with this class setup. So we're going to be breaking that down for you guys to determine between the tac laser, the VOK, and the rubberized, what is the best fifth attachment. There are a couple of players who are still deciding between the custom Corvus Marksman and the M16 barrel, which, as you guys should know, this gun recently was found out to have only 2 damage ranges, which actually affects this and makes these barrels a little bit more close in overall stats. So we're going to break it down for you guys in today's video. So if you guys learn anything new, please make sure you guys leave a like. And 97% of you guys that watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you guys want to see more in-depth class setups like this, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below and leave a comment what gun you guys want me to cover in the next video. So you guys can see on the screen here, the M4 is actually still in the top 7 as one of the most popular weapons, which was a huge surprise to me. This is the ranking of the most popular class setups. Like I said, when you go through and do the data, over 70% of players are using the Commando, 70% of players are also using the M16 barrel, and then 100% of players use the 60 round mag with the monolith suppressor, which is what's going to build the best class setup. The biggest difference, though, is 50% of people are using that VLK sight. Only 10% are actually using the rubberized, and 20% of players are using the tac laser, which to me is a huge factor, as players can't really decide what their fifth attachment is. So we're going to take a look on the screen now. It's the difference in the ADS speeds with the 3 different best fifth attachments. We have the rubberized, tac laser, VLK. As I said, the tac laser gets the best improvement in your ADS speed out of every gun in Modern Warfare. And with that VLK adding it to that best class setup with the M4, it got the second worst ADS difference, which I'm going to showcase that to you guys. Every time I try to build a best class setup, I try and make it the best class to beat or compete with those other top tier weapons. That's what you have to do with this M4. You have to build it to try and be better than the AMAX, the FAR, and all those Kilo and Grau users. So when you go all the way from the very beginning, you guys can see 1 frame difference. They are exactly lined up. You guys will see how many frames it takes with the M4 here. Boom, about 17 frames. The gun is fully ADS. 17 frames is just a little bit over 300 milliseconds, which is definitely something you will notice. 300 millisecond ADS for an assault rifle is incredibly fast in Warzone, especially with all those players using those VLK sights that lower it. 300 milliseconds is incredibly fast. So if we take a look at the rubberized, which, like I said, is still pretty good as an attachment, 1, 2, 3, 4 frames difference, which is anywhere between 60 to 80 milliseconds, which you guys definitely will notice. This is at, I believe, 100 or 120 FPS. And then if you keep going, 1, 2, 3, between 3 and 4 more frames with that VLK sight. So 17 frames ADS. I'll showcase the ADS on the screen. You guys will see 17 frames is about 300 or a little over. With the VLK at 24 is definitely a huge difference. You guys will definitely notice about 125 millisecond difference in ADS. You 100% will notice in game, which is 100% why I think the VLK is probably one of the worst attachments to add. 100 milliseconds will make you lose a gunfight when you're already killing slower than all those other ARs. The AMAX and the FAR kill 100 milliseconds faster than the M4. So down to lower your ADS 100 milliseconds, you're putting a huge gap in there in that time to kill, which you definitely will notice. And the second thing I want to tell you is the recoil pattern, because like I said, I've made hundreds of videos covering the M4. The recoil is one of the hardest things to actually improve on this gun, which you guys will see. As you should know, the VLK does give you a massive improvement in recoil, which is not that big a difference on the gun. So I'll showcase that on the screen right now for you guys. So what we're going to take a look at next is the recoil patterns you guys will be able to see. I'll showcase the video clip while I'm talking. You guys will be able to see the difference in the recoil patterns is honestly not that big. For the fact that the VLK gives you that big of an improvement in your overall recoil, it honestly doesn't show that much in the recoil pattern. The one biggest factor for me that I've noticed in my testing, which this is within like 15 meters at the long range, you definitely will notice a difference in recoil. But like I said, this is why I think the tack laser is the best attachment, is due to the fact that it gives you the best overall improvement. Your aiming stability, which helps your player tracking, your first shot accuracy is incredible. Your aim walking steadiness while your player tracking is the best. And then your ADS speed is incredibly fast and able to actually somewhat compete with those SMGs, and makes it significantly faster than those Kilo, Grau, and AMAX users, and competes with the FAR and the ADS, which is what makes this gun able to compete, in my opinion, which is why I think this is the best class setup. I do 100% think using the tack laser as your 5th attachment is the only and the best way to build the gun. The next thing we take a look at is the difference between the two barrels, to show you guys if there is a big difference between using that custom chorus marksman versus that M16 barrel. So what we're going to take a look at is the biggest difference between the barrels. This is one of the guns that got added to the list of weapons that actually have only 2 ranges, which the Kilo has 3, which in my opinion is where you're going to see the biggest difference in the barrels actually go down. There's not going to be a big difference. So the biggest difference, the range, like I said, with only having 2 ranges, there's only a 3-meter difference in range, which is less than 10%. You will not even notice in game. These two class setups, like I said, with the tack lasers being the best attachment, they are built the exact same way. The biggest difference you guys will see, it shows a 10% difference, but it's not that big a difference. The overall difference when you put that custom Corvus marksman barrel on there, you guys will be able to see on the screen. The ADS is about 10% faster. Your movement speed is significantly faster. Your hip fire is slightly better. Your bullet velocity is actually the same. The difference in recoil is a very minimal difference. So with that custom chorus marksman, like I said, the biggest difference you'll notice is it's a little bit better if you're an extremely aggressive player. If you're running the M4, even with a Mac 10 or something, if you are a player that runs around, gets in cars, and likes to push fights, the custom chorus marksman is going to be the best barrel for you, because it has a faster movement speed, faster ADS, a better hip fire, and all the stats that matter for fighting better in the close range are improved with the custom chorus marksman. That is the only difference between the two barrels. After the change where the M4 and all the other guns like the ground laser guns were announced only having 2 ranges, there's a big difference drop off where there was a huge difference. Now there's none. So that's basically it for the barrels. Want to take a look at next is the time to kill of this M4 versus the other top assault rifles, and why this is one of the most popular weapons still. All right, so what we're taking a look at right now on the screen is where this M4 ranks versus the other top assault rifles. So you guys will be able to see, as I said in the beginning, the M4 is actually the 7th most popular weapon in Warzone. If you look at the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, all the ARs we're going to take a look at in comparing in the video to see it where the M4 ranks versus other guns, because as you can see, the only guns more popular is the Mac 10 and the Kar 98 than all these guns we're comparing it to. And like I said, the biggest factor to look at when we're trying to break down and how to build the best M4 class setup is how to make it better than the guns it's ranked next to. When you take a look at the time to kill, the biggest factor for me is it's in a class of its own. It's not as good as the AMAX or FAR, but it's better than the Grau, the Kilo, and the M13, which is where I think it can be in a class of its own. So when you take that AMAX and that FAR, you guys can see the FAR almost has the same range, but the AMAX falls off about 35 meters. The M4 is about equal from 35 to 45 meters with the time to kill of that AMAX. And then you take a look at that Kilo, which used to be the most popular weapon. The M4 is almost identical time to kill in that mid-range. The AMAX is obviously the most popular weapon. The Kilo was the most popular weapon, and the M4 competes directly head-to-head. And then, like I said, with that tack laser, you guys can see the class setups on the screen. This is based on what was the most popular class setup for each weapon. The tack laser is going to help improve it. So you take a look at the overall stats. The next thing we're taking a look at is the damage. You guys will see once again the FAR is obviously in a class of its own, and the fire is incredible. The AMAX is a close second. And you guys will see the M13, Grau, and Kilo are pretty much equal. And the M4 is once again slightly better. So this is once again where I rank it in a class of its own. And then even when you take it at that max range, it still does more damage than all those other weapons. That's where I have it in the B class of assault rifles. And it just is very, very good. When you go through and you take a look at these class setups, the biggest factor, like I said, once again stressing, we're trying to build this gun better than the other guns. The biggest factor with that tac laser will be your ADS. The only gun that competes with an ADS category is going to be the FAR, which obviously Cold War weapon, so it doesn't really compete head to head. Majority of these weapons, like the Grau, the M13, Kilo, and AMAX, majority of players are using the VLK, which is going to completely lower your ADS. I'll give you a slight improvement in the recoil, which, like I said, doesn't affect the M4 as much. So your ADS of the Kilo, M13, Grau, and AMAX, you guys can see all significantly lower than the M4. And there's pretty much no other stat that really makes that much better. Average in bullet velocity, average in hip fire. But like I said, with that ADS and having it in the mid-range in its own class, in my opinion, that's kind of where I think it's a pretty good weapon. If it was me personally, you go through, you take a look at the time to kill. So you basically take a look at the M4 and where you kind of want to rank it. The Kilo and the M13, in my opinion, are not getting used right now. They might be ranked that high, but I don't think people are really using them. If you take that Grau away, you guys can see it pretty much is almost in line right here in the middle above the 30 to 40 meter range where it kind of falls off. It still competes with these two weapons, which is where I think it's pretty good. And if you're stacking it with a Mac 10, this basically first 25 meters is where you're using that SMG. So it pretty much competes from about 30 to 45 meters with those other two weapons, which are the most popular and obviously the top weapons, which is where I think it's good. I do think it's a viable weapon to use. If you like the M4, you're probably going to be using it, but it's not as good as the top tier assault rifles, and it's better than the lower tier assault rifles in my opinion. It's kind of in its own little middle ground class, kind of like the PKM, a couple of other SMGs where they're just right there in the middle, like the MP7, the PKMs. They're in the middle where if you like using them, they're good, but you're still going to get smoked by those AMAX, FAR, and Mac 10 users. So that's pretty much it for the video, trying to show you guys if the M4 is still good. I definitely think 100% it is a top 4 assault rifle to use right now in the game. So if you guys are anything, like I said, please make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe to the channel down below if you guys are new. Leave a comment what gun you guys want me to cover in the next in-depth class setup video. If you guys haven't yet, follow me on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Trapgod. I live stream every single day. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitch. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you.